Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hello students, my name is Niyati Seth and thanks for watching Edupedia Word videos. My topic for the presentation is third section of the chapter Cell, the basic unit of life students. In this section of the video, we will discuss about the eukaryotes, or it is also called as eukaryotic cells students. The eukaryotes, they include all the protist, plants, animal and fungi. In eukaryotic cells, there is an extensive compartmentalization of cytoplasm through the presence of membrane-bound organelles. See, these are the membrane-bound organelles such as endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, mitochondria, chloroplast. So these are the membrane bound organelles, okay, that makes the extensive compartmentalization of cytoplasm, okay, through the presence of membrane bound organelles. Eukaryotic cells, they possess an organized nucleus. As you can see that this is the nucleus, so it possesses an organized nucleus with a nuclear envelope, which is absent in prokaryotes students. I have already taught you in detail in my previous section of the presentation, so for better understanding you can refer to that presentation. Okay, eukaryotic cells, so they have well-organized membrane-bound nucleus and other cell organelles. Okay, so the eukaryotes, they include all such as protist, fungal, plant cell and animal cell students. In eukaryotic cell, there is an extensive compartmentalization of cytoplasm through the presence of membrane-bound organelles. See, these are the mitochondria, okay, and chloroplast. See, this is chloroplast. So they all are membrane bound, so that makes an extensive compartmentalization of cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a fluid filled in the cell, okay. Eukaryotic cells, they possess an organized nucleus. See, this is organized nucleus with a nuclear envelope, which is absent in prokaryotes students. In addition, eukaryotic cells, they have a variety of complex locomotory and cytoskeletal structures. Their genetic material is organized into chromosomes students. That's why they have very organized nucleus, okay. All eukaryotic cells are not identical. As you can see, these four are eukaryotic cells. They are not identical. Plant and animal cell, they are different, as plant cell possesses a cell wall, okay. So that's why plant cell is different from animal cell, because animal cell does not have cell wall, okay, but plant cell, they possess cell wall, plastid and central vacuole, which are completely absent in animal cell students. See, this is vacuole, which is present only in plant cell and not in the large central vacuole I meant. Okay, small vacuole is present in animal cell, but large vacuole is present only in plant cell and not in the animal cell students. On the other hand, animal cells, they have centriole. Okay, so this is centriole, okay, so which is completely absent in plant cell. So this way you can understand that how they are different from each other. All eukaryotic cells are not identical, okay. Okay, now what are the cell organelles present in the eukaryotic cells students? First is cell membrane, second is cell wall, endomembrane system, that is endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosome and vacuole. Fourth is mitochondria, fifth is plastid, ribosome, cytoskeleton, cilia and flagella, centrosome, centriole, nucleus and microbodies. So these 11 are the cell organelles which are present in eukaryotic cells, and they all are membrane bound, okay. As you can see that this is plasma membrane, this is centriole, this is peroxisome, these are endoplasmic reticulum, which forms a channel like a structure, this is nucleus, which is covered by nuclear membrane, okay, and this is nuclear pores which are present on a nuclear envelope, okay, and it is a unique characteristic of eukaryotes. This is mitochondria, and these small dots are your ribosomes. So in this section of the presentation we will discuss from cell membrane to plastid, and in next section of the presentation we will discuss from ribosome to microbodies. Okay, so let's proceed. The cell membrane is only one component of a cell. The following cell structure can also be found in a typical animal eukaryotic cell. Now, what does these cell organelles do in eukaryotic cells, students? First is centriole. Okay, so this is centriole. It helps to organize the assembly of microtubules, students. Now, what is chromosome? It houses genetic material. And what is genetic material? That is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. Then comes cilia and flagella. Cilia and flagella, they help in cellular locomotion because they are locomotory organs. Okay. Then comes endoplasmic reticulum. It synthesizes carbohydrates and lipids. Then comes Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus, it manufactures, it stores, and it ships certain cellular products. Then comes lysosome. They are also called as suicidal bags because they digest cellular macromolecules. Then comes mitochondria that provides energy for the cell in the form of ATP, students. Then comes nucleus. It controls cell growth and reproduction. Peroxisome, it detoxifies alcohol and it forms bile acid, and thus it uses oxygen to break down fat. And then comes ribosome, students. It is responsible for the protein production via translation. Translation means protein synthesis, okay, from mRNA. So first we will deal with the cell membrane, students. Students, this is first and foremost cell organelle which is present in eukaryote cells. It forms barrier, okay. The detailed structure of a membrane was studied only after the advent of electron microscope in year 1950. Meanwhile, chemical studies on cell membrane, especially human red blood cell, enabled scientists to deduce the possible structure of plasma membrane. These studies, they showed that cell membrane is composed of lipids that are arranged in bilayer. See, this is bilayer, okay. This is hydrophobic end and this is hydrophilic end, okay. So, chemical studies on human RBC, that is red blood cell, it showed that cell membrane is composed of lipid bilayer, protein and carbohydrate, okay, and they are arranged in bilayer. Also, the lipids are arranged within the membrane with polar head towards the outer side and hydrophobic tail towards the inner side, okay. As you can see, this is tail. It is hydrophobic. That's why it is oriented inside. Whereas the polar end, which is polar in nature, this is hydrophilic in nature. So it is oriented towards outside. This ensures that non-polar tail, see this is non-polar tail, okay, of saturated hydrocarbon is protected from aqueous environment, okay. The lipid component of membrane mainly consists of phosphoglyceride. See, this is lipid bilayer, okay? Lipid bilayer. One layer is this and one layer is this. So, that's why it is bilayer, okay? So, the lipid component of the membrane mainly consists of phosphoglycerides. Later, biochemical investigation clearly revealed that cell membrane, they also possess protein and carbohydrate, such as this protein and this protein. Okay, and it also contains carbohydrate. See, this is carbohydrate, okay. The ratio of protein and lipid, see this is protein and this is protein and this is lipid. So the ratio of protein and lipid, it varies considerably in different cell types. In human beings, membrane of RBC has approximately 52% protein and 40% lipid. Please note that this is the most frequent question that comes in PMT level exams. Okay. Depending on the ease of extraction, membrane proteins can be classified as integral or peripheral. See, this is integral protein and these are the peripheral proteins. Okay. So depending on the ease of extraction, membrane proteins can be classified as integral or peripheral. Peripheral protein, it lie on the surface of membrane. As you can see, this is membrane protein and it is lying on the surface of the membrane. Okay. While integral protein, they are partially or totally buried in the membrane. Okay. Now what are the lipids which are present in cell membrane? So there are three types of lipid that are present in the cell membrane. Cell membrane means plasma membrane. So first is phospholipid. They are major component of cell membrane, students. Phospholipid, they form a lipid bilayer in which their hydrophilic end, that means philic means loving and hydro means water. So water loving end is towards outside, whereas hydrophobic end which repels water. Phobic means repel. Okay, and hydro means water. So the one which repels water is known as hydrophobic. So hydrophobic tail is oriented towards inside, or you can say away from the cytosol or extracellular fluid. The lipid bilayer is semi-permeable. That means it allows only certain molecules to diffuse across the membrane, students. Then comes cholesterol. Cholesterol is another lipid component of animal cell membrane. Cholesterol molecules, they are selectively dispersed between membrane phospholipids. This helps to keep cell membrane from becoming stiff by preventing phospholipid from being too closely packed together. Cholesterol is not found in membranes of the plant cell, students. Please note that. Okay. Then comes third lipid, and that is glycolipid. What is glycolipid? They are located on the cell membrane surface and they have a carbohydrate sugar chain attached to them, and they help to recognize other cells of the body. That's the significance of glycolipid which is present in the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay. Now come to the proteins. The cell membrane contains two types of associated proteins, at which are though peripheral and integral. Peripheral membrane protein, they are exterior to and they are connected to the membrane by interaction with other proteins. And integral membrane protein, they are inserted into membrane and most pass through the membrane. Portion of these transmembrane proteins, they are exposed on both sides of the membrane because it is partially buried in the cell membrane. That's why it is exposed on both the sides of the membrane. Okay, I have already shown you in the diagram. Cell membrane protein, they have a number of different functions. Then there are other proteins too. Structural protein, okay, transport protein and glycoprotein. Structural means it provides support and gives shape to the cell. Okay, and cell membrane receptors protein, they help cells communicate with external environment through the use of hormone, neurotransmitters and other signaling molecules. Then comes transport protein. Transport means, as the name is saying, that it helps in the transport of the molecules through facilitated diffusion, such as globular proteins. Okay. Then comes glycoproteins. They have a carbohydrate chain attached to them. Glyco means carbohydrate. When carbohydrate chain, that is glyco, is attached to the protein chain, then that is known as glycoprotein. They are embedded in the cell membrane and they help in cell-to-cell communication and molecular transport across the membrane organelles membranes. Okay. As I've already taught you, that ratio of protein and lipid, it varies in different cells. In human erythrocyte, that is red blood cell or RBC membrane, it has 52% protein and 40% lipid. This is typical representation of plasma membrane. See, this is phospholipid, this is phospholipid 2, so it forms a lipid bilayer, and these are proteins, carrier protein, channel proteins. This is glycoprotein. That means when a carbohydrate chain is attached to a protein, then it forms a glycoprotein. This is the zoom view of phospholipid. See, this is phosphate head, which is polar. Polar means hydrophilic in nature. That means it loves water. This is fatty acid tail, which is non-polar, or you can say that it is hydrophobic in nature. That means it just repels water. That's why it is oriented towards inside. And this is integral protein, carrier protein and channel protein. How you can identify that it is an integral protein? Because it is partially or fully buried inside a cell membrane, then it is integral protein. And which lies on the surface of the lipid bilayer, then that is your peripheral protein. So this way you can memorize that or you can identify these two proteins on the basis of their orientation. Okay. Now, fluid mosaic model of cell membrane. An improved model of the structure of cell membrane was proposed by Singer and Nicholson. Okay. Singer and Nicholson proposed fluid mosaic model of cell membrane. According to this, quasi-fluid nature of lipid enables lateral movement of proteins within overall bilayer. Okay, so this quasi-fluid nature of lipid, see these are lipids, the red ones are lipids, okay, and these blue ones are your proteins. So the quasi-fluid nature of these lipids, it enable lateral movement. Lateral movement means on longitudinally. It enables lateral movement of proteins within overall lipid bilayer. This ability to move within the membrane is measured as its fluidity. Okay. The fluid nature of membrane is also important from the point of view of functions like cell growth, formation of intercellular junctions, secretions, endocytosis, cell membrane division, etc. Okay. So one of the most important function of plasma membrane is transport of the molecules across it, because it is selectively permeable to some molecules present on either side of it. Okay, so this is typical representation of cell membrane. These are your lipid bilayer, these are your peripheral protein and channel and carrier proteins. These are glycolipids, glycoproteins. Okay, so what's the function of cell membrane, students? Transport of the molecules. The membrane is selectively permeable to some molecules which is present on either side of it. Due to the fluid nature, plasma membrane can help in cell growth, formation of cellular junctions, secretion, endocytosis and cell division are the main functions of cell membranes. Okay. This is cell membrane. These are integral proteins. Okay. These are carrier proteins which are integral protein. Okay. And these are the protein channels. So different types of membrane transport we will study here. So there are two types of transport which are seen in cell membrane. That is, first is passive transport and another is active transport. Now what is passive transport, students? Many molecules can move briefly across the membrane without any requirement of energy. Okay, so that is your passive transport. Okay. Along the concentration gradient when movement of molecule takes place from higher concentration solution to lower concentration solution without the expenditure of energy or ATP. Okay, so that is passive transport. So it is of two types. First is simple diffusion. Okay, see this is simple diffusion. That means it is going from here, from this side to this side without the expenditure of energy. Okay. Then second is osmosis. Osmosis, movement of water takes place in osmosis by diffusion across the semi-permeable membrane. Okay. Now what is facilitated diffusion? Facilitated diffusion means they require membrane carrier protein for the transport of polar molecules. See, these are the polar molecules and this is the carrier protein which is facilitating the transport of these polar molecules from this side to this side through non-polar lipid bilayer. Okay. And what is active transport? When Proteins require the expenditure of energy for transporting molecules from this side to this side, then that is active transport. Active transport, you can say that it moves against the concentration gradient, that is from lower to higher concentration. And such a transport is an energy dependent process in which ATP is utilized and is called active transport. For example, Na plus and K plus pump is active transport. Okay. Let's see what is active transport. As I just told you, movement of the molecule across the membrane against the concentration gradient. That means from lower to the higher concentration with expenditure of energy. That means ATP is utilized in case of active transport. For example, Na plus K plus pump is an example of active transport. Then comes cell connections or communication. Gap junction. Okay, gap junction is the first cell connection through which communication between two cells takes place. Okay, so this is one side and this is another side of the cell. This is the interior side of the cell and this is the outer side of the cell, and this is gap junction channel that allows to make the communication between two cells. So gap junctions are one type of the cell connection. When two cells they are right next to each other, their cell membrane may actually be touching. The gap junction is an opening from one cell to another. It is not a big opening, okay, but it is large enough for cytoplasm to move from one cell to outer cell. The connections are called as channel. See, this is known as gap junction channel, and they act like tunnels for the movement of molecules. This is the zoom view of connection. Gap junctions are also known as connections, students, so don't get confused. Okay, so this was one type of the cell connection. Second is desmosome. Desmosomes are the second type of the cell connection through which cell make communication with each other. They physically connect cells like gap junctions, but no opening is created. See, this is gap junction and this is desmosome. So unlike gap junction, desmosome does not create any opening. Okay, proteins that bond the membrane of one cell to its neighbor, it creates desmosome. All of those protein, as you can see, it holds your skin together. The distance between the cell, however, is very small, which is about 10 times wider than the gap junction connection. Okay, so this was the second type of the cell connection, that is how cells communicate with each other. Then comes tight junction. What is that? Tight junction, it happens when two membranes actually bond into one. It makes a very strong barrier between two cells. Okay, so this is your tight junction because it forms a very strong barrier between the two cells. See, this is one cell and this is another cell, and this is your tight junction. They have some distance with desmosome. Okay, gap junction, it allows molecule to pass. Tight junction, it forms a solid wall. These cell connections, they are often found where one area needs to be protected from the contents of other areas. Tight junction is seen in the urinary bladder of humans. It actually prevents maturation, which goes involuntary. Okay, so these are the three types of the cell junctions which are present between the cells. Then comes cell wall, students. Cell walls, it is non-living rigid nature structure which is found outer to the plasma membrane of the fungi and plants. Cell wall of algae, it is made up of cellulose, galactans, mannans and mineral like CaCO3. See, this is cell wall. Okay, in other plant it consists of cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin and proteins. Cell wall of young plant cell, that is primary cell, is capable of growth. It gradually diminishes as the cell matures, and secondary wall is formed on inner side, that is towards membrane. See, this is middle lamella and this is primary cell wall and this is the plasma membrane. So middle lamella, it is layer which is mainly formed of calcium pactate. It glues the different neighboring cells together. Then comes cell wall, and middle lamella may be traversed by plasmodesmata which connect the cytoplasm of neighboring cells. Now, what's the function of cell wall, students? It gives shape to the cell, it protects the cell from mechanical damage and infection, it helps in cell-to-cell interaction, it acts as barrier to undesirable macromolecules. So these are the crucial functions of cell wall. Now comes endomembrane system, students. While each of the membranous organelles is distinct in terms of its structure and function, many of these are considered together as an endomembrane system, students, because their functions, they are coordinated. Okay, coordinated among these four organelles, that is endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, lysosome and vacuole. Okay. So endomembrane system, first we will study about the endoplasmic reticulum and then Golgi complex and then lysosome and vacuole. And please note that the function of mitochondria, chloroplast and peroxisome, they are not coordinated with the above components. So these are not considered as a part of a membrane system. Okay. So first we will study about the endoplasmic reticulum. Electron microscope studies of eukaryotic cells. It reveals the presence of network or reticulum of tiny tubular structures which are scattered in cytoplasm. That is called as endoplasmic reticulum. Okay. So this is endoplasmic reticulum, which forms like a reticulum. Okay. And ER divides the intracellular space into two compartments, such as luminal, that is inside ER, and extraluminal, that is outside cytoplasm. So ER is of two types. First is rough and second is smooth. See this, when ribosome is attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, then that becomes rough endoplasmic reticulum, and when it is smooth without the ribosome, then that is SER, that is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, students, it bears ribosomes on their surface, and RER is frequently observed in the cells which are actively involved in protein synthesis, because ribosomes are protein factories, so they will automatically generate protein. Okay. They are extensive and continuous with the outer membrane of nucleus. See, suppose this is nucleus and it extends from the nucleus and it goes till plasma membrane, and then comes the smooth endoplasmic reticulum where ribosomes are absent. It is the major site for the synthesis of lipid. In SER, lipid formation takes place. In animal cells, lipid-like steroidal hormones are synthesized in SER. So the main function of endoplasmic reticulum is translation, that is protein synthesis, because ribosomes are attached to it, and folding of new proteins takes place in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and expression of lipid happens in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. That means protein synthesis takes place in rough endoplasmic reticulum and lipid synthesis takes place in smooth endoplasmic reticulums. Don't ever forget this. Then comes Golgi apparatus. See, this is the trans phase and this is the cis phase of Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus, Camillo Golgi first observed densely stained reticular structure which is present near the nucleus. Okay. These were later named Golgi bodies after Camillo Golgi name. Okay. They consist of many flat or disc-shaped sacs or cisternae of around 0.5 micrometer to 1 micrometer diameter. Okay. These are stacked parallel to each other. Say these are parallel to each other, right? Cisternae, they are concentrically arranged with convex cis phase. This cis phase is forming phase and this concave phase is trans phase, which is maturing phase. Okay, they are totally different but interconnected with each other. Okay, so these are the cisternae which are concentrically arranged with cis and trans phases, which are totally different but interconnected. Students, please note that Golgi apparatus, it principally performs the function of packaging materials to be delivered either to the intracellular targets or secreted outside the cell. Materials to be packaged in the form of vesicle. See, these are the vesicle which has extracted out from the Golgi apparatus. So it moves towards the maturing phase. See, this is the forming phase. Here intracellular packaging takes place and it then reaches to the trans phase, which is maturing phase. Okay, and from here it comes in the form of vesicle and it moves out from the Golgi apparatus, and that vesicle is known as secretory vesicle. Okay, so this explains why Golgi apparatus remains in close association with the endoplasmic reticulum. A number of proteins synthesized by ribosome on endoplasmic reticulum, they are modified in the cisternae of the Golgi apparatus before they are released from their trans phase. Okay, so the main function of Golgi apparatus, you can say that it is important site for the formation of glycoprotein and glycolipid. So Golgi bodies, they are elongated, flattened structure called cisternae, and they are stacked parallelly to one another. I have just shown you in the diagram, and they are bound by single membrane and they are found close to the nucleus. The vesicle formed from the ER, it fuses with the membrane of Golgi apparatus. The cavity of Golgi body has a vessel protein that are modified for transport. So the main function of Golgi apparatus is sorting, packaging, processing, modification of proteins, and it also forms lysosome and peroxisome. Okay, so this way Golgi apparatus is, this is the cis phase, this is the trans phase. From trans phase vesicle formation takes place, and this is the primary lysosome which goes and forms with the secondary lysosome. Then function of the Golgi apparatus, as I told you, that it secretes material to the intracellular targets or outside the cell. Okay, proteins are synthesized by ribosomes on the endoplasmic reticulum, which are modified in the cisternae of the Golgi apparatus before they are released from its trans phase, and it also helps in the formation of glycoprotein and glycolipid. Now comes lysosome. They are membrane-bound vesicular structure which is formed by the process of packaging in the Golgi apparatus. Lysosome vesicle contain hydrolytic enzymes such as hydrolases, lipases, proteases, and carbohydrates. So that's the reason it is called as suicidal bag, because it becomes active at acidic pH and it digests carbohydrate, protein, lipids, and nucleic acids. So lysosome, they are single membrane bound structure, they are tiny sac-like structures, and they are present all over the cytoplasm. The main function is digestion. It contains digestive enzymes. Okay, it has digestive enzymes such as acid hydrolases. That's why it is responsible for degrading of proteins and worn out membrane in the cell. Lysosome, they are present in white blood cells. They are capable of digesting invading microorganisms such as bacteria and viruses. They are capable of digesting entire damaged cell containing them. That's why they are called as suicidal bags of the cell. Then vacuole. Vacuole, see, this plant cell has large central vacuole. It is membrane bound space which is found in the cytoplasm. It contains water, sap, excretory product, and other materials not useful for the cell. It is bound by a single membrane, and the single membrane of vacuole is known as tonoplast. Please note that. In plant cell, vacuole can occupy up to 90% of the volume of the cell. Okay. In plant tonoplast, it facilitates transport of iron and other material against concentration gradient. That means it requires energy for the transport. That is active transport. Okay, and in amoeba, see, this is amoeba where contractile vacuole, it helps for the excretion. In many cells such as protists, see, this is protein. Food vacuoles are formed by engulfing food particles. See, it has engulfed food, and that's food vacuoles it forms. See, this big one is the food vacuole which is formed by engulfing food particles. Most of the plant cell volume, it depends on the material in the vacuole. These vacuole, they gain and lose water depending on how much water is available to the plant. Okay, see, if vacuole is fully filled, then plant looks like this, and when a vacuole is half filled then plant looks so wilted. Okay, a drooping plant has lost much of its water and vacuoles are shrinking. It still maintains its basic structure because of its cell wall. Okay. Now comes mitochondria. Mitochondria, these are clearly visible only when stained, and it is double membranous structure. Their number, shape, size per cell, they are variable depending on the physiological activity. They are sausage shaped or cylindrical, which has a diameter of 0.2 to 1 micrometer, okay, and length 1 to 4 micrometer. Mitochondria, as I told you, that it is double membranous bound structure. See, this is outer membrane and this is inner membrane. It divides lumen into two aqueous compartments, such as outer compartment and inner compartment, that is matrix. So this is matrix, okay. So this is matrix and this is intermembranous space. Intermembrane space between outer membrane and inner membrane is called as intermembrane space. Okay, inner membrane folding. See, these are the inner membrane and these are the inner membrane foldings, which we call it as cristae towards the matrix, and it increases the surface area. Okay, these two membranes, they have their own specific enzyme which is associated with mitochondrial function. The matrix of the mitochondria has circular DNA, a few RNA molecules too, ribosome of 70S, and components for protein synthesis, and it divides by fission. Please note that mitochondria is the only organelle which divides by fission. Now, what's the function of mitochondria? It is called as powerhouse of the cell because it produces energy in the form of ATP. So, as I told you that in the mitochondria, sugar is finally burnt during cellular respiration, and the energy released in this process is stored as high energy chemical, which we call it as ATP. So, the main function of mitochondria is to produce energy through metabolism. Okay. Then comes plastid. Plastid means chloroplast. Okay. They are found in all plant cells and in all euglenoids. They are very large size and they are easily observable under microscope. They contain some pigments too. See, based on the types of the pigments, plastids are of three types. First is chloroplast, second is chromoplast, and third is leucoplast. This is leucoplast, chloroplast and chromoplast based on their pigment. Chloroplast, it contains chlorophyll and carotenoid pigments. They trap light energy for photosynthesis. Chromoplast, this is chromoplast, okay. It contains fat soluble carotenoid pigment like carotene, xanthophyll, etc. This gives a yellow, orange or red color. Then comes leucoplast. They are colorless plastid of variable shape and size with stored nutrients. They include amyloplast, elioplast and proteinoplast. See, proplastid gave rise to two, in fact three: etioplast, chloroplast and leucoplast. Etioplast with the later progression forms chromoplast, and leucoplast is again divided into three. They are amyloplast, elioplast and proteinoplast. Amyloplast, it stores starch, for example potato. Elioplast, it stores oil and fat, and aleuroplast, it stores protein. Proteinoplast or aleuroplast, they both are same, so don't get confused. And these three are colorless plastids of various shape and sizes with stored nutrients. Okay. Chloroplast is again double membraned. As you can see that they are double membrane structure, outer membrane and inner membrane. Inner membrane of the chloroplast is less permeable as compared to the outer membrane. The space limited by inner membrane of the chloroplast is called as stroma. So this gel is known as stroma, which is filled inside the chloroplast, and it contains number of organized flattened membranous sac, which we call it as thylakoid. So these are thylakoid which are connecting to grana, and the stack of thylakoid is known as grana. So this entire is known as grana. Membrane of thylakoid, it encloses a space called lumen. Chlorophyll pigment, they are present in thylakoid. and you cannot say that it's present in grana. To be more precise, it is present in the thylakoid. Thylakoids, they are arranged in a stack called grana or intergranal thylakoids. They are flat membranous tubule, which we call it as a stroma lamellae, that connects the thylakoid of different grana. See, these are the thylakoid which is connecting two grana. See, this entire structure is known as grana or intergranal thylakoids. This is intergranal thylakoid is this one. Okay, the stroma contains a small or double-stranded circular DNA molecule, ribosomes, enzyme for the synthesis of carbohydrate and protein. And ribosome of the chloroplast, they are smaller, that means 70S and not 80S. Okay, but the cytoplasmic ribosome has 80S. What's the purpose of chloroplast? Is to make sugar that feed the cell's machinery. Okay, and photosynthesis is the main crucial function of chloroplast, that it makes its own food by the process of photosynthesis by creating sugar. When the energy from sun, it hits a chloroplast and chlorophyll molecule, light energy is converted into chemical energy, which is found in compounds such as ATP and NADPH. Those energy rich compounds, they move into the stroma where enzyme fix the carbon atom from carbon dioxide, and the molecular reaction, it eventually creates sugar and oxygen. Okay, so that's the main function of chloroplast. And then heterotrophs, they feed on the plants to obtain glucose for food and energy. Animals also breathe the oxygen gas that is released. Okay, so this way it goes on. And it was all about the cell organelles present in eukaryote cells. In my next section of the presentation, I'll be teaching you about the ribosomes, cilia, flagella, cytoskeleton, centrosome, nucleus and microbodies. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia Word videos. Thank you.